how much equity to give your co-founders. This is a problem and a question that a lot of people have written about, and you can see a lot of varied advice online. My perspective is that most founders are missing a couple key points when divvying up their equity. The first one is your equity splits with your co-founders are what's going to motivate your co-founders to stick with your company through the years and years and years it takes in order for you to build a large company that has massive impact. Oftentimes, the co-founders that you're speaking to don't quite understand how much of a time commitment they have to give to the startup if it works. And so as a CEO who's responsible for figuring out what the equity split is, oftentimes you have to think about what your co-founders would want, even if they're not thinking about their own long-term interests at the moment. One of the biggest fallacies I hear from a founder is, well, we came up with this equity split because that's what we negotiated. Well, as a great CEO, your first thought has to be not, how do I come up with an equity split based on negotiation? Your first thought has to be, how do I come up with an equity split that's going to maximize the motivation of my teammates? And if you're concerned about giving equity to teammates, that's not without reason. There are lots of startup teams that break up. There are lots of founders that leave. But your primary mechanism of safety when it comes to giving equity is vesting and a cliff. So typically when you give equity to anyone in your company, but including the founders, you have what's called 4-year vesting. That means that you have to work at the company for 4 years to actually get that equity stake. Typically also you have what's called a 1-year cliff. That means if you leave or are fired from the company within the first year, you get nothing. So as a CEO that's trying to make sure you have a maximally motivated team, this is your hedge. Vesting with the cliff, 4-year vesting with a 1-year cliff is your hedge. This is your get out of jail free card. If you made a decision that was incorrect about choosing your co-founders, as long as you correct it within 1 year, there's no long-term harm to the company.